Welcome to this video. The topic of this video is planning and how to get started. It's part of the Construction Management and Planning course. It's part of GSW1 on the second semester. Content of this presentation is focused around getting started with planning. I'm going to be talking about mind map and a so-called work breakdown structure. So since the main focus, it's worth to note that one key aspect and a very visible output of planning is the time schedule. Creating a time schedule can be a complex task. So we're going to here give you one suggestion on the process of creating a time schedule and also describing the individual steps that you should take in the process. It's always a good idea to start with reviewing the project. Familiarize yourself with the project. The better that you know the project, the better you have the basis for good planning. Once you know the project, you can create a work breakdown structure. On the basis of the work breakdown structure, you have all the deliverables of the project, and then you can define the project activities, or you can group activities together in a manner that makes sense for how you plan to carry out the project. The activities, with the activities defined, you should define the sequence of activities, which tasks are to be done first, which tasks can be done in parallel, which tasks have to wait. The next two steps sort of go hand in hand. It's the estimate the resources for the activities. And when you have the resource allocation, you can start thinking about, well, what's the actual activity duration? When you have all these steps performed, only then are you ready to develop your time schedule. Right now, we're focusing on the beginning of the planning, especially about the work breakdown structure and defining the project activities. So the work breakdown structure is very important. A good way to get started with a work breakdown structure is an informal method called a mind map. And a mind map could be any sort of small sketch as you see here. Mind map, it's a very useful technique that you can apply to almost every process. It's an informal way of establishing an overview of a project. Definition of it is a diagram in which information is represented visually, usually with a central idea placed in the middle and then associated ideas arranged around it. Good thing about a mind map is that it provides overview. It combines the imagination and then general knowledge of construction projects. It's a very visual tool, and it's actually also very effective so that you can get an overview of a complex task quite rapidly. It's especially useful if you are working together in a group on solving a complex project, trying to get an overview of what activities are involved in the task. If you want, you can personalize it. Some are more straightforward, but others like them a little bit more advanced or more creative. Either way, whatever works for you is what counts. What gives you the overview, you should choose. So on the basis of a mind map, maybe you now have defined a lot of activities or all the activities in the project. It's time to structure them in a way that you can continue. We call that then the work. It's a hierarchical listing of tasks and deliverables that establish the total scope of the project. It divides the work into smaller parts, activities and tasks, and then it also organizes these in a logical way so that you can understand the project. In the end, the work breakdown structure defines what the project consists of, meaning that what is part of the scope and what is not part of the scope. So why bother creating a work breakdown structure? while in itself, maybe it's not very useful, but the work breakdown structure is a very key component in the planning process. It gives you the basis for further planning, further organization, and managing of the work. If you have a large project, it allows you to number the elements in a logic way, and you have easy identification of different parts of the projects. That enables clear communication on large projects where you're not alone, where you are working together in a team. An example of a work breakdown structure for a house is a quite straightforward one, where you can see the division into different levels. Level 1, you just have a house. Level 2, you've split down the house construction project in smaller elements, such as surveying and leveling, masonry work, carpentry work, electrical work. You already see here some logic behind the division is also to separate the activities into different trades so that they could start already the process of establishing your bill of quantities for contract management with the different subcontractors later on. If you take an example of a level 2 activity, masonry work, you can split that into even more details, consist of a foundation, columns, walls, partitions, roofs. You get the idea. Foundation can be further divided into an excavation operation, form laying, mixing and placing of concrete, curing and form removal. We have here a distinction between activities and then individual tasks. Another example of a work breakdown structure is a new factory, a larger project. Here it's a division in level 0, which is the new factory, 1.00. You have the numbering, and then the logic behind the numbering is that in level 1 you have substructure, superstructure, and finishes with each unique identification numbers. Level 2 operations, you have divided the substructure into piling and foundation as an example. You could continue this even further. So for example, activity foundations 112. You could create a detailed work breakdown structure of that also to get an even more detailed overview of your project. As an example, you have here foundation split into 9 different tasks. So we've now gone through development of a mind map as the basis for the work breakdown structure and shown you a few examples of the work breakdown structure. So you're now ready to continue along the path of creating a time schedule. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much.